Hello all. You know who I am, you know what I do, so let's skip the ramble and dive right on into the recap. Young caver Riko and her amnesiac robot friend Reg headed down into the Abyss, a Lovecraftian world unto itself, existing underground, in search of Riko's mother and Reg's history. Moving downwards is easy, as long as you can fight your way through the monsters, otherworldly terrain, and of course the White Whistles, mysterious, superpowered cavers wielding legendary relics. But if you head up again, you're hit by a nasty curse, increasing in viciousness for every layer you've descended. After undergoing various trials and tribulations, the pair eventually encountered Nachi, an achingly cute Totoala Rubit, or Hollow, which at this point seems to refer to those who receive the curse of the 6th layer, Horrible Mutation. Due to the twisted experiments of White Whistle Bondrewd, Nanachi's friend Mitty got super cursed into an immortal chunk of nightmare fuel, while she ended up with a blessing, some kind of benevolent version of the curse. After she persuaded Reg to kill Mitty with his laser arm, she joined the party and the three pushed further down, before running into Bondrewd himself. Bondrewd, let's say, coercively invites them all to be his guests, but they also met his daughter Prushka, a charming little chatterbox born in the Abyss. Naturally, Bondrewd being, well, Bondrewd, separates the party and his Umbra Hand minions cut off one of Reg's arms in the process of vivisecting him. But he was saved in the nick of time by Prushka, Riko, and Nanachi. Prushka helps the party escape, but returns to her father. In the process of fleeing, the party lays a trap for Bondrewd on a nearby island, causing him and the Hands to be attacked by stingerheads, nasty scorpion monsters with crazy poisonous stings. However, using his special relic Sparagmos, Bondrewd was able to escape unscathed, but the party's backup plans seemed to work, as he was infested, cursed, and finally smashed with a boulder by Reg. Today, we will take a look at the next stage of this horrible anxiety porn adventure, and finally learn all about cartridges. Yay! As Bondrewd lies smashed, infested, mutating and breathing his last, Reg breaks down in tears as Nanachi apologizes for basically forcing him to kill a man, which is a bit rough, even if it's a complete and utter bastard like Bondrewd. Don't worry, Reg, you did good. Prushka rushes over to her stricken father, as Reg realizes the cost of what he just had to do on their new friend. The Umbra Hand sent with Prushka comforts her, then walks over to Bondrewd's corpse and rips the head clear off his body before tearing off his own head and replacing it with Bondrewd's. Nani the fuck? Prushka is overjoyed that her father is somehow still alive as Reg and the others look on with complete and utter horrified bafflement. Bondrewd, you bastard, then knocks Prushka out with a blow, as they all suddenly feel a strange pressure, and as the colours on Bondrewd's speech bubbles invert again, in true anime villain fashion, he introduces himself for real. Yup, this was all him just letting things play out, an experiment to see what the party was capable of, as well as some kind of twisted generosity towards Nanachi, knowing that she wanted revenge for her friend Mitty. Reg leaps in to attack again, but this time Bondrewd simply swats him to the ground and pins him there with his weird tail appendage, as well as disabling Riko with poisonous darts. Nanachi asks him, well, just what the hell is going on, and Bondrewd tells her that the Umbra Hands are all Bondrewd. Wah? He also explains just why he's been so interested in Nanachi. Apparently, the Abyss doesn't just inflict curses. On certain, vanishingly rare occasions, it also grants blessings. This is sort of explained later in the manga, but long story short, under the right conditions, you get given a nice, fluffy, and occasionally quite powerful form, but in the vast majority of cases, you're a blobfish. The last thing we see at the end of Volume 4 is Prushka and Bondrewd talking, with her making some kind of decision. She says that she wants to help him in his quest to visit and return from the mysterious lower layers. He accepts, and we see some odd diagrams on her body. There's a bit more to this, but we won't learn anything about what's going on here until later. Don't worry, it's not what you think. It's probably way worse. The last page of Volume 4 is an awesome little addendum. Seriously, the manga is full of these, intimating that there are far more dangerous creatures than even orb piercers, stingerheads, and deceptors down in the lower layers. But again, we'll have to wait until quite a bit later to see these. Volume 5 opens with a fun little interlude, assumably before all of that chaos, as Riko and Prushka chat. Riko recalls her friend wanting to join them on their adventure, and suddenly awakens with a scream. Back in the present, the party are all injured and severely traumatized by their absolute trouncing at the hands of Bondrewd. Riko, despite her emotional turmoil, spends some time trying to figure out just how the hell Bondrewd is so powerful, making a list and cataloguing the various nasty relics he seems to be equipped with. She finally recalls one in particular that may explain things. Zoaholic. It's a special grade lost relic, even stronger than the legendary Albard, that allows you to transmit your consciousness into other bodies. It all gets pretty complicated, but Zoaholic is actually enormous, so they figure out that it must be stored somewhere back in Edo. However, that would naturally mean going back and fighting an immortal, impossibly powerful individual more, and since they got their cheeks so roundly clapped last time, they head off to find another way. No, of course they don't. They decide to go back to Edo and attempt to destroy Zoaholic and assumably rescue Prushka, because this entire party has a death wish. Okay, fine. They begin putting together a plan. Reg dives deep into the ocean near Edo, infiltrating the base in secret to do something, while Riko and Nanachi head back, knowing that as Bondrewd wants Nanachi to rejoin him, they'll be a good distraction. You're insane. You're all actually insane. Ah well, it does get us to what I consider to be one of the darkest moments in the manga, and also one of my favorite sequences. It's time for this to end, one way or another. We see Reg creeping around the bowels of Edo. He clearly has some kind of purpose. He's scared, but strengthens his resolve by remembering that he's fighting for Nanachi, Riko, and Prushka. Nanachi and Riko are taken in by the Umbra Hands, and as they walk, Riko asks Nanachi if she has any idea how Bondrewd is making it up from the mysterious lower layers without turning into a Mitty. A mystery that will soon be solved, and trust me you two, there are some things you'll regret finding out. Suddenly, the power starts fluctuating, and in the confusion, Riko and Nanachi slip away. We finally see what Reg was up to. Remember how, way back in Orth, the kids were able to wake Reg up with electricity? Well, Reg just drained the base, but what's happened to him? Riko is startled when something jumps onto her back, but it's Prushka's little pet Digimon, who seems to want them to follow. You don't want to do that, trust me. But they do, leading them back to an ominous little room filled with wicked-looking machines and implements. Riko looks around nervously, then turns and sees that Nanachi is handling some kind of weird cartridge. Oh yeah, here we go. It's time that we learn about what I consider to be the single darkest aspect of this entire pitch black story. The cartridges, and the missing time between Mitty transforming and Nanachi escaping from Bondrewd. See, those things? They're actually kids. Out of fear, Nanachi assisted Bondrewd in the creation of a portable curse absorber. The kids were flayed and eviscerated, with their skin, teeth, eyes, bones, and most of their organs removed from their bodies while they were still alive. Once that's done, and they're made as small as possible, what's left got packed into a metallic casing where they're kept alive artificially. The only purpose of their existence being permitting Bondrewd to ascend from Layer 6 again without incurring the curse. That huge tank thing on his back? That's stacked with these cartridges. Holy shit! That's one of the darkest, most twisted things I have ever heard anywhere, ever. And that's why Nanachi has been so weird and reluctant to talk about her past. She was essentially a collaborator in this atrocity. But before she can explain any more, Bondrewd himself bursts in on them. Rico demands that Bondrewd let Prushka go, and, mercurial as always, he says that he plans to. Prushka's just resting. Bondrewd also claims to be surprised, as he thought the party had returned to try to obtain a white whistle. As you've probably guessed already, white whistles require a human being as a component for their creation. Well, it's a bit more involved than that. To get a white whistle, the sacrifice must give their life and body willingly. And this leads Rico to finally guess the truth of Bondrewd's whistle, his form, and his true nature. To obtain his white whistle, Bondrewd used himself, his original body, while keeping himself in some sort of pseudo-life via Zoaholic, transferring his consciousness into the Umbra hands. Then, I'm guessing, puppeteering them with his helmet, which is why the Umbra hand earlier ripped off its own head and put Bondrewd's head in its place. It's implied that this process is responsible for his madness, but as this is never mentioned again, and frankly undermines everything I like about this character, I am going to completely ignore it, and I welcome you to do the exact same. Anyway, Bondrewd is legitimately impressed, saying that Rico is quite a bit like him. It looks like things could get pretty ugly pretty fast, but we quickly see that they've managed to buy enough time as... Holy crap, that's amazing. And here we go. Kicking off what I consider to be one of the most epic and incredible fights in manga history. Not that this bit is badly executed in the anime, but I think the manga wins out here. The thing that burst through the wall emerges, walking towards the waiting Bondrewd, weeping black electricity into the air. Reg has arrived and just look at that art. He's even creepier looking than Bondrewd. Hell yeah, let's do this. The two clash, with Bondrewd countering with his tentacle, tail, tentatail, I don't know. Then fires a shattering prismatic beam from his helmet, called Gangway, following it up with Sparagmos, blasting a hole clear through the berserking Reg, but that doesn't even slow him down, as he belts past Bondrewd, ripping off part of his mask and revealing that, yup, you aren't even close to human anymore, you sick fuck. They continue to battle, ripping apart Ito as they do. Reg is now entirely abstract, a thing of speed, cables, lightning and pain, forcing Bondrewd to unveil yet another of his relics. This one's called Far Caress, which seems to summon a shadowy liquid substance, which latches onto and traps Reg. While the two insanely powerful beings duke it out, Rico discovers the huge flower-like Zoaholic. Now, all she needs to do is destroy it, find Prushka, and get the hell out of there. Back at the battle, Reg seems trapped, but begins powering up even further. Nanachi, watching the entire thing with her special sense, realizes that Reg is gathering an enormous amount of energy to him, powering up his incinerator, and causing Bondrewd to pull back, recognizing the attack as something called the Light of Essence. Epic. Nanachi calls out to Riko via their headset relic, telling her to get as far away from this as possible, because when this attack goes off, it's going to be something special. She in turn rushes over to Reg as he prepares to fire, trying to get him to stop as things continue to get weird, the concentrated energy swirling around Reg causing nearby matter to flow and warp. Then the attack goes off and nothing happens. It takes Nanachi a second to realize that she's actually experiencing the curse of the fifth layer, because she's been flung high into the air. Reg appears next to her, catching her as they look on at... Whoa! Most of Edo Front, or at least a big chunk, is just gone, reduced to a colossal crater. Well done, Reg. They talk a bit about Reg's ridiculously metal battle transformation, and he says that he doesn't remember much of it. It felt like other people were inside his body, controlling him during the fight with Bondrewd, and some of them look rather familiar. Nanachi asks him how he snapped out of it. Was it her words that reached him? No, it was her fluffiness. Damn it, stop making me laugh, you horrible, depressing manga. Nanachi gives Reg another comms device, and they look down into the devastation of Idol, wondering what the hell happened to Bondrewd, who was at ground zero. Maybe he got... Nope. He just switched bodies again, fights back on as Bondrewd grabs Reg and leaps with him down into the void, and yes, that right there may be one of my all-time favorite manga panels. Cheesy Pete, that's just beautiful, as the pair fall down together into the darkness. Reg regains consciousness at the bottom of the chasm. Bondrewd seems to be dead, or at least that body does, and Reg quickly realizes where he is. He's on the 6th layer, at the same place Nanachi described when she and Mitty were sent down in the machine. He is surrounded by horribly mutated, Mitty-ish hollows, but oh hell, there's Bondrewd, back in his main body, which seems to have survived Reg's Gigablast unscathed. In fact, all Reg seems to have managed is to really piss Bondrewd off. The White Whistle attacks again with Sporagmos, ripping apart the hollows, but Reg is able to evade and counterattacks, slipping under a gangway blast and smacking Bondrewd into the air, but the evil mastermind easily blocks him with his tentatail. Speaking to him via his comms thing, Nanachi tells him that he can't keep this up forever. Firing the Essence of Light, his incinerator's true name, I'm guessing, drains a lot of power. But Nanachi has a final, desperate plan. He listens, then launches himself back up the fault, with Bondrewd in hot pursuit, and as the pair fight an epic ascending battle, we see the first part of the plan, as the sounds of the cartridges in Bondrewd's suit rupturing is audible. Reg may be running out of juice, but this also puts a timer onto Bondrewd. As he ascends and the cartridges deal with the curse, he will eventually run out of them and get cursed himself, and sure enough, as the battle continues, more and more cartridges are rejected, and Bondrewd himself begins to suffer some part of the curse as mutations become visible on him, and the two burst through to the surface. You know, there's only so many times that I can say this panel is frigging amazing, but I want to hang this one on my wall. Look at that! The now definitely mutating Bondrewd does an anime villain pose. Nanachi comments that he's looking a bit Nanachi-ish himself. He laughs and realizes that he's been blessed by the abyss in the same way she was, ejecting his remaining cartridges. The plan seems to have failed. and only made Bondrewd stronger. As the cartridges fall, he calls each one of them by name. Can someone please just kill this sick bastard already? Mania runs over to one of the cartridges and begins, licking at the unmentionable fluids leaking out while crying out in anguish. Oh no, 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 no. Please don't tell me that. Shit. The horrible truth is finally revealed. Prushka wasn't resting. Bondrewd vivisected and eviscerated his own daughter and turned her into a cartridge. Holy balls, that's twisted. Nanachi and Reg look on in disbelief, but Bondrewd is entirely unrepentant. Reg goes completely moggy and the battle starts up again, and we cut to Riko, who's standing, staring down at the cartridge in horrified shock, as she realizes that the thing that was once Prushka is still alive and still suffering. We get a bit of background on Prushka. She's actually not Bondrewd's biological daughter. Yeah, that's confusing. She's the offspring of one of the Umbra Hands, and due to an accident when she was younger, she got hit by the 5th layer curse as a baby, which completely destroyed her mind and seriously damaged her body. In his sort of horrible kindness, Bondrewd decided to heal her and take care of her, giving her Mania as a friend. Prushka and Mania managed to survive quite a bit, with her growing up to be a fine young lady. She and Bondrewd did share a genuine parental bond even when she learned about the cartridges, despite the discovery that her dad is kind of an evil bastard. And by kinda, I mean unbelievably. She continued to trust and adore him, wanting to help him achieve his goals, but also wanting him to leave her new friends alone. This little interlude caps off with her last glimpse of Riko, Nanachi, and Reg as the sequence fades to black. Then we get a few panels showing her evisceration and becoming a cartridge, which I'll spare you most of. And that's it. Pretty much the darkest thing I've seen in a manga. But as this was done voluntarily, there's even more to unpack here. But the interesting question to me is, did Prushka really love her father that much? Or is this another example of Bondrewd being an incredible manipulator? I'll let you decide. Back in the present, things are not going well. Bondrewd is beginning to overwhelm Reg, and finally does so with a fully unleashed, layered Sparagmos barrage, smashing him to the ground with the strength of his mutated form, and then impaling him through the navel with one of his new claws. Reg is down but not out, revealing a new trick as he fires a light blast from his foot. Bondrewd easily avoids it, leaping high above Reg, and suddenly another Essence of Light blast seems to come out of nowhere and catches him center mass. The final, desperate gambit is revealed. By the looks of it, Reg was able to fire the Essence of Light from his severed arm, which was just brought to the battlefield by Riko. The pair fire again and again, with Prushka, her consciousness at last mercifully fading, narrating over the scene. Crikey Moses, please say this guy is dead. That was harrowing. And yes, at last, it's done. Bondrewd's main body is a smoking ruin, not quite dead, but definitely destroyed. He compliments Nanachi on her plan, but she tells him that, while they'll likely never succeed in fully killing all of his spare bodies, they've beaten him. To her horrified astonishment, he seems completely okay with this, expressing his fondness for her even as he dies. See, this is what makes Bondrewd honestly among my favorite villains of all time. It would have been so easy to have him go anti-hero or turn slightly good or reveal that he's just a tortured utopian, but no, Bondrewd remains pure evil all the way through. But he's also not a black-hearted psychopath. He is completely capable of caring for others and does so genuinely, even as he willingly tortures and sacrifices them for his goal. He's also always content to the point of smugness, and even when he's doing horrible stuff to, well, kids, he always comes over as weirdly kind. He's essentially the Bugs Bunny of anime baddies, and I love everything about him. Honestly, the only character that I can think of who is remotely analogous in terms of both complexity and uniqueness is Griffith from Berserk, and that's some lofty company to be in. So, have we seen the last of Bondrewd? Well, I guess time will tell, but for now, the party has emerged from fire, horror, and pain, victorious over a seemingly insurmountable foe. Now, I will say that this segment is why I prefer the manga over the anime, despite some of the more controversial inclusions in the manga. Oh, the anime is great, but somehow this fight just feels like another big anime fight, with perhaps slightly better characterization than most. The manga, however, gives us lovely art like this, and somehow just feels better, more epic, more visually creative, and light of essence, or was it essence of light? I always forget. The attack names in this story are kind of batty, just doesn't look as cool in the anime. Ah well, it's possible for two things to both be good simultaneously. Whichever version you pick, they're both really good. And with that, the arc draws to a close. A bit later, standing in the rubble of the cataclysmic battle, the party begins to patch themselves up and heal. Reg is injured, but is already recovering. Nanachi has finally succeeded in her revenge, but Riko is utterly distraught, clinging to Prushka's cartridge. Sorry, Riko, looks like she won't be joining you after all, unless you're looking for a very unpleasant paperweight. Sensing that Prushka is still somehow suffering, she turns the cartridge over to help her be more comfortable, and the horrible mixture within the cartridge spills out all over her. That's horrible. Riko is now on the verge of going catatonic when something else falls out amongst the gore. Nanachi's jaw drops. She cannot believe her eyes. Yep, narrative causality, I guess. Prushka willingly became a white whistle, not for her father, but for Riko, allowing one of her dreams to come true. Nanachi is utterly astonished. For Prushka to retain that will, despite being flayed, gutted, and crammed into a box, and then suffering the curse of the sixth layer, all for her friends. Torn between joy and sorrow, Riko accepts the gift, and the party prepares to strike out for Layer 6. The manga's not even halfway done. As they turn to go, they see a familiar figure standing in the ruins of Idol. Bondrewd's still around, but due to his defeat, he's lost a lot of his former power, and hopefully won't be a threat in the future. As Prushka wished for Riko's group and Bondrewd to have peace between them, Riko decides to leave him be, and grudgingly, Nanachi assents. Yup, it's time for them to finally head down into the mysteries of Layer 6. Oh, and Mania's coming along for the ride too. As the second part of the manga draws to a close, we get a really wonderful set of panels as the adventure is set to enter its next chapter. And that's going to be where I call it today. Oh, don't worry, there's plenty more to come. And next time is where the manga gets even more creative, brutal, disturbing, and beautiful, as the party gets into the truly Lovecraftian stuff on Layer 6. Oh, and we finally get to meet my absolute favorite character from the series. But as for that, you'll have to wait and see. Part 4 is going to be a hell of a job. So it'll be a while, and I'm going to release some other, more snacky videos to tide you all over in the meantime. Until then, my friends, take care. This is the Owl, signing off.